Oh, all right. I do believe we are going to be live now. So we're finally live, Henry. So what I would
Excellent.
like, yeah, what I'd like to ask is, have you got any news for us this week? It's 10:53. It's taken the earth to get this set up. I do actually have a newsletter that's been that will be sent to you very, very shortly. After this today, we'll put a stamp on the envelope and get that to you.
Or even better, a stamp. I think the interesting thing was the items about returning Welsh artifacts back to Wales so people can see it rather than actually being locked up in the British Museum in a deep bunker.
Yeah.
Things like the golden cape, I think.
Yeah, the golden cape of mold. Now, the biggest problem is this age-old argument that the British Museum is the repository of a selection of the finest artifacts collected across Britain, and people within these lands have signed up to be part of that British establishment. And there is the other thing as well, is that these artifacts are probably a lot safer in the British Museum than they would be in Wales. And the other thing as well is in the British Museum, lots of these things have a better audience than if they were put in a museum in Wales. So I think that's basically the argument. At this minute, personally, I believe that lots of these artifacts should remain in London.
Right.
Until we have a decent set of rules and protection mechanisms for our artifacts, which we don't seem to have.
Right, that's a fair point. I think the other one is where would you put it in Wales? Does it migrate to the south, but the item comes from North Wales?
Oh my God, then you've got that problem. Yeah. So yeah, you do have that problem then. So there's not a national museum in North Wales. So this thing has to be in a national museum. So it's not going to end up in North Wales. It's going to end up in South Wales. If you have something like the Mould Cape in North Wales, which is solid gold, you have to really think about how you protect it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to build a museum, and there would be a lot of expense, and you don't have the infrastructure and all these other things. So you know, it is based along this sort of everything's tribal when you look at this. Oh, and then do you build a museum in Mould, or do you put in Wrexham, the nearest town, so therefore it's not in Mould anyway?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, good point. And how do you get there? Because the roads between South Wales and North Wales are so poor, you'd never see it anyway.
So very few people would see it anyway. It would not be some. So in many ways, this object should remain in London, and I wouldn't normally say that, but that's something that I would say would be the case. We don't really have much of a museum infrastructure in Wales at all. You know, if we started sitting down and working out how many museums were actually in Wales per population, per capita, we're not talking about 100. You know, we're talking about most places in Wales don't have a museum representing them.
Right.
If you look for an example, in the Vale of Glamorgan, if you want to talk about museums that portray the history before 1900, there's Cowbridge, and then that's it, and that's open once every month or something. Now that's quite pathetic for a population of 110,000. Then you could argue that you've got the Wartime Museum on Barry Island, which is obviously about the Second World War. You've got the Aircraft Museum, which is everything post-war. in Saint Athan, and you know, it looks pretty poor. The amount of museums that are in Wales.
So on a slight change, any of the artifacts found from the 5 Mile Lane, which has come up a number of times, I noticed in the press, certainly the chap with his head down at his feet, found in a grave, where would they end up?
There's not enough space to display them anyway. And I actually, this is actually the problem, because officially at the time there were supposed to be displays and there were supposed to be tours around the site and all these things. This was actually written into the rules of the contract for the archaeological work. None of that took place. So even on a micro level, that was not managed. If anything, maybe one artifact might be displayed from this whole project in the National Museum of Wales.
Right.
Which is quite pathetic, really.
Yeah, it's quite poor.
So the other thing as well is it does match what I've said, that the archaeology should have remained in the ground anyway. You know, when you the archaeology is safer in the ground in many ways. Say for example, the roadway that was built could have in no way damaged the archaeology at all. You could have put a membrane over the whole thing and just sort of protect. You could have photographed it, recorded it, you know. You could have done all that, but unfortunately now it's in boxes. Nobody's ever going to see it. Yeah, I could organize, because you know, I've got some kind of agreement with the museum that there's some artifacts that I can look at and I can organize a time to do it and all the rest of it. But it's a special effort, and so obviously the average member of the public's never going to be able to get to see most of these things.
Right. Okay, that's on a disappointing note.
Yeah, it is quite disappointing, isn't it? So, right,
let's crack on.
I think we should definitely crack on. We've used enough time, so I'm going to. So what we're going to do today is look at Brixham, and it would be good to exactly show. Or a new technology as well. So if I, where are we?
Oh, you.
I'm here. Right, good. So new technology. What I do that. Right. And then I do this. Hang on a minute. I did do that, and if I do. Hang on a minute.
You look as though you've frozen.
I've frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, you've definitely frozen.
I've frozen on the screen, have I?
Yeah, you're a big picture in the middle of my screen.
Oh, but you can still see me. You can still hear me.
I can hear you, but your picture has definitely frozen.
Oh, right. You know, that's fine, because I'm trying to get the PowerPoint on.
Right.
Oh, here we go. PowerPoint. Excellent. And guess what? We should actually be seeing this. You got it?
No, I'm seeing your lovely face.
But can you see the slides?
No.
Okay, stop that. And if I start again, and if I go onto screen, and I start there, and then it should actually be showing you my screen now, yeah?
I'm seeing Google and little Google. Oh, someone's face. Young lady.
Young lady.
She's disappeared.
Oh, she should be back again.
She's come back.
Right, okay. Again, this is my fault. I can't blame anyone for this. I'm not going to blame my tools.
Got some select apps. PowerPoint.
How'd you get on that? Right, PowerPoint. No. Oh no, it's not going on. No, it's gone wrong.
Young lady again.
Right. Okay. Oh God. Oh, what am I doing wrong? I can't do it. Oh God. Right. Okay. So if I do that, right. Right. Where's my PowerPoint gone? I just had it. Okay. Right. Oh, I need to phone a friend a minute. Hang on. I don't have any. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Where's he gone?
I'm still here. This I have, for some reason, I think I must have peed Vodafone off so much today. Okay, right. I gotta try and work out where this thing's gone. Right, so if I there. Right, now are you seeing it?
No.
You're not seeing a pro.
All I've got is your background picture of looks like a bit of bushes, and that's it, and a bit of blue sky.
Right,
okay. We haven't got an audience. Oh, there you are.
How do you know we haven't got an audience? We probably have. Right, okay. So if I do this again, like share this.
I'd edit a lot of this out.
I won't be going anywhere at this stage. Right, okay. Right. Oh no. All right. Oh, right. So if can you see all the search stuff?
But PowerPoint just went by. Oh, Brixham Caves and Ash Hole.
What did you just say?
Brixham Caves and Ash Hole. Oh, is your email address there?
Yeah, it's meant to be. Oh God. So, do you know what? I don't know. I'm just having a bad day. The moral of the story is, right? The moral of the story is just I don't know, right? Well, I must have annoyed them so much that my phone's gone to pot. But there is one thing: you haven't lost reception, and there's okay. So what we've now got, we're going to be looking at Brixham, and the archaeology at Brixham is absolutely amazing. So you know, it's something that we're going to be. I'm just going to. It's something that will very much interest you and will paint a different perspective. It links in with everything that we've done. It links in with the likes of Goth's Cave. It links in with the caves on the Gower. It links in with Kent's Cavern. It links in with Creswell Crag. So everything that we've looked at links in with this site. Actually, these sites. There are 3 sites at Brixham. There are 2 caves in Brixham itself, and Ash Hole is just outside Brixham on the peninsula. So this is you know, this is one of the things I've really been interested. I've really been you know, into this sort of this area, this landscape. So, okay. So what we need to do, we need to go on to the next slide. Next. Oh, God.
Where is it?
I don't know where. It's there somewhere. Help me, please. But, okay. So if we go back out there. Hang on. Oh, there it is. What am I doing wrong? That's what you've got to do. You've got to do that. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, wow. So basically, you've got to hit the screen with your finger. You've got to move it. There you go. So excellent. So basically, we're down there, down to good. Now it's making sense. Down to Tor Bay.
Yeah, know it well.
What, do you know Brixham well?
I've been there a few times.
All right. Have you seen the place where there is? Well, I can show you it now. Actually, it's a little location where it's in Brixham itself, where they used to be able to give guided tours of this sort of underground passage in Brixham, and there's a little building there, right? So I'll just show you an image of this, and you can just actually, if I unfortunately I can't get off the image. Never mind. But this is actually the main cave in Brixham. So
Right.
so this is what we're going to look at now. If we can just if I get my notes up on the other thing, and right, so right now this cave itself, you're looking into the depths underneath Brixham itself, and I did actually originally say when I did this, I've done this now on a Tuesday, I've done this on a Monday, I did this last Thursday, and I've done this week, and it should be so perfect this week without all my cock-ups that whatever. Anyway, so this cave itself in the middle of Brixham is one of 3 caves within Brixham and the Brixham area, within the space of a mile or so. And this cave itself is given a number of different names. It's known as Brixham Cave, but you can't call it Brixham Cave because you've got Ashhole Cave and you've got another cave in Brixham itself. So they thought they played around with the names, and they said, right, we'll call it Brixham Bone Cavern. And then what they did, they named it after one of the roads as well in Brixham, known as Windmill Hill Road Cavern, or Windmill Hill Cave. But the one we're going to actually settle with today is Philp's Cave. It's named after Philp, who was the original builder that actually come across the cave in the first place. And one of the things that I had been saying over the past few weeks, until I did a tiny little research and I corrected myself, was that this cave itself is created out of Devonian limestone, and Devonian limestone is a really old limestone that was created beyond the Carboniferous period. It's a very old rock, and what's happened is over the years the rock has come out from the sea and dropped down again, and it was filled with all of the softer limestones, and that's been eroded up, creating the cave system itself. So Philp's Cave, so it was discovered in 1858 for the first time, and being discovered in 1858, it was by far going to be the cave that would help us explain what was going on at Kent's Cavern. So Kent's Cavern is not far away. So if we sort of hang on. Oh no, there it is. Kent's Cavern is across the bay. So there's Brixham there, and so Kent's Cavern is basically at Torquay, right? So Brixham, Torquay. There you go, Kent's Cavern. So Kent's Cavern had been explored and had been interpreted by McKerney back in 1824. McKerney's results led experts to disagree with his findings. Years later, Kent's Cavern was then examined a little bit by this guy, William Pengelly. Now, if you look at William Pengelly is described as a geologist. Other people have described him as an archaeologist. Other people have described him as the father of British archaeology, which is the one that I'm going to describe him as, William Pengelly. And he had both been in Kent's Cavern, and he had been he eventually saw this cave in 1858. But when he went in Kent's Cavern, he realized that a mess had been made with the archaeology. We didn't really understand what was going on at Kent's Cavern. So to find this cave, Philp's Cave, for Pengelly was a revolution, because he was able to fit everything together in not the biblical narrative, but everything together in the new narrative. So the new narrative, my friend, is in fact that the Earth is a lot older than 4,004 years BC. And the other narrative is that people did live on this planet at the same time as mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and hyenas and woolly mammoths and aurochs and great elk. So this is where he was going, right? So he had a cave that had been found for the first time ever in Brixham. And to be honest with you, this itself would be the first time in British archaeology that prehistory would be taken seriously. This cave system itself, if we want to zoom in, it's not let me zoom in. This cave system for the first time would be somewhere where methodical stratigraphic archaeological excavation would actually take place in 1858 under the ownership of the new techniques by William Pengelly. And within this cave in 1858, he found the remains of human beings alongside, in exactly the same layers, alongside British extinct animals like cave bear, like those woolly mammoths and so on. So this would be an absolute revolution. This would be a huge revolution. However, in 1858, there were people who didn't believe it, who didn't believe his discoveries. Even though he said, hang on a minute, right, this layer, you see this layer here? If you look on the side of the trench, it links with that layer. Oh, you faked it. Yeah, but if you look, it's sealed underneath calcite. Oh, yeah, but the calcite may have been put there by you. He said, hang on. Oh, yeah, and this cave was found by a builder, so it can't be a genuine cave. So in other words, people still doubted what this new scientist was saying. So when he did excavate in 1865, he basically said, right, you see that layer in Kent's Cavern now, in 1865, you see that layer, which is underneath the stalagmites. That itself was created a long time ago. Do you agree? Yeah. Right. So if you take away that layer and see what's underneath it, that was put there before the calcite, the flowstone, or whatever you want to call it, the stalagmites were actually formed. Yeah. Right. Okay. So if you move that, you go below, that's older. Yeah. Oh, God. So that means that what you found in Brixham Cave in 1858 was actually genuine. Yeah. And you call me a liar. Oh, right. Okay. So this cave itself, Philp's Cave, as I say, if you look it on the internet, you'll see lots of names for it. Brixham Cave. But if you look at Brixham Cave, there are two caves by the same name, Brixham Cave and Brixham Cave, right? So Brixham Bone Cave, which this is what this is, and Brixham Bench Cave. So this is why we've got to have this as Philp's Cave and the other one as Bench Cave and the other one as Ashhole Cave. So before we go any further, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do this, and I'd like to say that on the headland, you've got Ashhole Cave, which Ashhole Cave is unbelievable. In fact, Ashhole Cave is probably one of those caves that's got the best preserved early prehistoric archaeological evidence left undisturbed in the whole of Britain. It's intact, and actually, you'll be shocked that the data in Ashhole Cave is over 70 feet deep. There's layers of over 70 feet. They didn't actually get to it. So when work was being undertaken in Ashhole in 1832, they by a chap by the name of Lyald, when he was excavating, he got to 70 feet and he just gave up. He couldn't find the base of the cave floor. So again, not 7 feet, 70 feet, 70. So this is why the Brixham Cave and the Ashhole Cave, the two Brixham Caves and the Ashhole Cave, are massively important to understanding prehistoric archaeology. And this itself is some images of Ashhole. Yeah, they're brilliant. We'll come on to that again. This is that missing cave. And I don't know if you've wondered and realized, Henry, that we do archaeological topics and the next week they're in the media. Now, I had already looked at Brixham Cave I'd mentioned it in my local class here. And when I mentioned it, I thought, that's all good. And on the night I mentioned it, they had actually said that the other Brixham Cave had just been rediscovered in Brixham. So as I'm talking about it, it's just rediscovered. It's great. Brilliant. And this is that really complicated map. That's the roadway there. It says Bone Cave. This is the one that we're looking at now, Phelps Cave. Not that one. That's another cave. And this is Phelps Cave again, from the Windmill Hill roadway, and not within the town itself, right? So it comes out in the town itself, right? So if we go back again, let's just look at that wonderful. This is a great image because
this your uncle?
What's that?
Is that your uncle there?
No, that's me. That's me, that is. No,
that makes you 122 years old. You're looking good on it.
No, hang on a minute. Hang on. You've got to add my other age, which is 47 on it. So that's 169 years old. Shut up, silly man. Anyway, I was saying something. Now you've totally thrown me. Interesting enough, when I used to do archaeological work in the past, this is actually a postcard, and obviously to make a little bit of money, they would make a postcard. So it's a postcard. So Phelps Cave was a chance discovery in 1858 by a local builder, John Lane Philp. Now, Philp has been described as being. They actually said he was. I don't know. They said he was doing something else, but anyway, Philp. And he discovered this by the fact that he was digging a hole in the ground and then suddenly his pickaxe fell into the earth below. Love it. We all love stories like that, don't we? And he's basically doing some construction work at a location called Mount Pleasant Road. And Mount Pleasant Road is where you go down, and then it then comes out where you've seen the other one, which is the so that's into the cave underneath that underneath Mount Pleasant Road in Brixham. It comes out in Windmill Road, so it's part of the same cave.
Right.
Okay, road entrance. Yeah, so they've got so above there you've got the house a bit further on, and then this is what's directly under the house that he was building. Right. So he accidentally came across this cave, and Philp's discovery was made public at the Geological Society of London, who drew up a lease from this guy Philp for William Pengelly to excavate. And obviously Philp then realized he could make money out of this, so you had little steps leading down to it and so on. It was great. It actually closed in 1977. You know what? I've never heard of this thing before at all. And it was actually a little museum there until 1977 when they closed it because of health and safety. It would be great. Do Do you know what? I've even there's a guy called, by the name of Darren Murray, who had actually rediscovered the other cave, and I was thinking, well, do I contact him and see if we could organize some kind of day excursion to see these locations? You can definitely get into Ashhole. You can't get into this anymore, but you could see the other location in the cave. I'd thought about that anyway. So William Pengelly excavated there with a colleague of his known as Hugh Falconer, and he supervised Pengelly. And you know what we're going to do now? I want to show you some of the other images. So this is all going to go wrong now. So I've just warned you. Right, so it's your fault. How do I get off these images? Do you know?
No. It's your phone.
All right. So if I do something else, right? Oh, technically it belongs to you as well. So if it's all gone wrong. All right. So if I stop the sharing, right, and then I go to there, and I go to screen, and I go to that, and I go to there, and I type in the complaints line for Vodafone. Right, so what we've got, so we've got Brixham. We type in Brixham cave, and we type in William Pengelly. We should be able to see him. There he is. There they are. There's the brothers. There's the brothers. So the one on the left is William Pengelly, and the other guy is Hugh Falconer. And these are the ones who are investigating the cave in 1858. It's good, isn't it?
I wouldn't recommend wearing trousers in a cave.
Well, the weird thing is these people in the past really sort of did things differently. So let's have another little bit of a slurp of the tea. So this William Pengelly is going to be somebody who changes the way archaeological work is undertaken. Now, he had seen the damage caused within Kent's Cavern, and he'd worked at Kent's Cavern himself, but a lot of damage had been caused. In excavating the cave, Falconer and Pengelly used a grid system to explore the cave. So in other words, a grid system. So you'd map out the cave floor, and then within that grid you would excavate down, and so that's the horizontal excavating down, and in the vertical you can match the numbered layers and the evidence with what's being seen in the vertical. So this was the first time, I'm going to say, that there might be exceptions, right? But for me, this is one of the very first times. We're not going to say the first time, because it's going to be turned out that somebody else tried it as well. But this is one of the first times in archaeology, definitely British archaeology, or near as definite, that this technical level of archaeological excavation was being undertaken in a cave or anywhere. And during that, he was able to plot everything within the layers for the first time. This was in 1858. Now, altogether, Pengelly and Falconer found 36 Paleolithic artifacts, including a flint knife. Now, back then, Pengelly wouldn't have used the word Paleolithic, because the word Paleolithic wasn't invented until 1865. He would have used the word Stone Age. However, by the time Pengelly's excavating in 1865 at Kent's Cavern, the new word Paleolithic had been offered to us. Paleo, early Lithic age; Meso, middle Lithic age; and Neo, new Lithic age. So with that all that being equal, some of these artifacts were not only firsts. Some of these artifacts were not only amazingly unique at that point in time, they were actually associated with fossilized remains of extinct animals. And so this is quite a revolution. That whereas Reverend Buckland decades earlier had argued with Father McKerney and basically said that human beings could not have existed at the same time as woolly mammoths, this is the evidence to say that humans actually did live at the same time as woolly mammoths, except people were very skeptical of what he was telling us. They were very skeptical of the archaeological evidence. In other words, Pengelly could not win, no matter what way. You know, he was using techniques that nobody else had used. So in other words, in that layer, which was a foot down, that tells you this event. And other people were saying, oh, no, it doesn't. No, that's because these artifacts ain't that old. And Pengelly would say, open your eyes and look. So the reason why Pengelly eventually excavated the Kent's Cavern was to actually sort of reinforce his discoveries at Brixham, which is, as I say, were done in a very technical, very new way. And lots of techniques that Pengelly were using are still being used in archaeology today. So some of the artifacts were associated with fossils of extinct animals, which prompted Pengelly to start questioning everything that had been said about these caves before. So in other words, Pengelly was part of the new wave archaeologists. Pengelly also studied in the Somme Valley in France, and in the Somme Valley in France as well, they actually came across similar archaeological evidence to what's being found in this cave. So obviously Somme Valley out in the open, what's being found in the cave. And in the Somme Valley, they started to sort of speculate over the ages of the artifacts. Again, let's not speculate over the age of the artifacts in this locality at Phelps Cave. They are what they are. So again, extinct animals living alongside human beings. Remains of animals found in the cave included those of extinct species such as aurochs, woolly mammoth, as well as the spotted hyena. So what I'm going to do there now is that we're gonna have a short break, but I would say that the site is actually is protected, but is actually closed at this present moment in time. But what I would like to do is just sort of give you a few more images. There's our friend. That's not Pengelly. This was taken in 1900 as a postcard. I tell you what, if you go through little boxes of old postcards and you find images of archaeological sites, it's great. I've got one of a skeleton being found in York, and it's great. So again, there's that sort of entranceway. Now, that to me, they're saying that that's an image of Kent's Cavern. But look at that. Isn't that an image of that? Do you see the similarities? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's a really difficult one because that image there is said to be somebody's basically argued whether that is Kent's Cavern or actually Brixham. Now the Phelps Cave, right? It is quite a strange one, and that is clearly Kent's Cavern, which is a slightly different image than this one. So it's because he excavated a number of different localities. It's just trying to get. Again, that's looking at Kent's Cavern. That's looking at Kent's Cavern. Very difficult. That's Kent's Cavern as well. But when we look to understand this one at Brixham, so again, if we type in lots of things at Brixham, oh yeah, if we type in that again, and we go with images. There isn't a massive. There he is. There's the man himself. He died in 1892. And again, the Geological Society see him as one of his own. Archaeology, we should see him as one of our own as well. So obviously, after the break, we'll get to grips with obviously the other locality, and that is in fact within the likes of Phillips Cave. And again, you can't actually get into it now. So, and the other thing as well is the reason why they don't like people going into these caves is they nick the stalactites and the stalagmites, and obviously that's ruining part of the story.
Right.
So what we'll do, are there any questions from you before we have a little break?
I think a very quick one. I've found, obviously, I've had a chance to look at a map that was drawn, and what's interesting, there's about 4 entrances to this cave.
Yes. If actually, what we're going to do, we're going to share that very map, and if we go to, for whatever reason, it's actually that one. That's the map you're talking about.
Yeah, mine's slightly more readable than that.
Yeah. And it's again, it's an extremely interesting complex, and again, all of these sites in Brixham are extremely interesting and complex.
I mean, it's intriguing why it took so long to find with so many entrances, and obviously one of them actually being by a road as well. Yeah,
exactly. It's quite strange. It really is. It really is, and obviously, but this could have been the direct competitor with Kent's Cavern, a massive tourist attraction, but it didn't happen that way.
Right.
So, right, okay, let's take a little bit of a break.
That sounds good to me.
I'm having a right nightmare today with the technology, aren't I? Why is it going wrong? Stop share.
Right.
I'm back. So I'll see you in a roly mo.
Okay, then we'll do.
About 6 to 7 minutes would be good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Da, da, da. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Where are we at? Dun-dun-dun.
I think what we should do is work out a way of invading Poland without upsetting anyone.
You do realise this is being recorded live?
Yeah, but the Polish are used to being invaded, you know? You know, it's just one of those things. As long as we don't mention a war, it's fine. I got away with it.
Here we go.
Somebody's offered me £10 million from the Congo.
Right.
I just might go for it. As long as I give them my bank details and all the rest of it, they'll give me the money.
I think that sounds like a very sensible thing to do.
Just give them. They said that they want my credit card details and to sign away my everything, and then in return they'll give me £10 million. I think that's a good deal. And they're related to Vladimir Putin, apparently. The thing is, right, I thought about being a mercenary for Vladimir Putin, but he's going to pay in rubles. I thought that's no good, is it?
Where are you going to use them these days, or for the next 100 years?
You can't exactly use them in the corner shop, can you? Maybe what I could do is go around Britain looking for shops that are owned by Russian people who actually still accept rubles. I think it could be quite fun. Right, we'll get started again in a mo. In a mo. Right, there was something oh, right. You know when you post letters, right? And on a bank holiday, they take forever to get anywhere.
That's why people use emails these days.
Yeah, this is why people, unfortunately, with emails, people don't bother reading them anyway. Yeah, no, we used to send out hundreds of emails and just nobody bothered reading them. God, what's going on here? Oh, I'm just having a moan about something. Hang on, man. Let's just have a good old right. Okay, if we did that there, so if you put stuff in a post box on Thursday, they're not going to be collected on Friday. They might be collected on Saturday, not Sunday, Monday. So they're in the postal system. So technically, they should have got there by Wednesday, which they haven't. Jupiter. Do you know, do you know what? Sometimes what I say, it's all for the good of the country. You know. What do you think?
Which country?
Poland. It's all for the good of Poland. You know, can you remember Life of Brian?
Right.
And he says, "Blessed are the cheesemakers." And the woman says, "Oh, I'm pleased the cheesemakers have got something." I thought I'd share that to you. I'm just finishing the cake and then we'll go starting. I had a whole tray of them. Look at that.
And what happened to them?
They're all gone. They've all completely disappeared. All 12 of them. Well, that's not good. Right. Where were we? Right. Let's get into it. And we were looking at, because we'd looked at the wonderful Phelps Cave. So the next one I want us to look at is the new discovery. And a new discovery was made by Darren Murray. So if we're not screen sharing, are we? No. I don't know what your wife makes of our classes. Does she ever hear me ranting and wonder who the hell that is?
I've got you on the headphone, so you're lucky your voice is contained.
But she does, I bet you she does still hear me ranting. How are we looking at this image?
We are looking at an image.
You know, looking at an image is really good, I believe. You know, this is the new one found. So what I'm going to do is I've got the press article in front of me, and it's a great story. It's absolutely fabulous. So, and this is the one used in the press article. So this dates to the 11th of April. So this is exactly the same day I'm discussing this in my local class. I'm mentioning this in my local class. So the headline is Lost Ancient Prehistoric Cave First Discovered by a Cornishman is Found Again. Now, this was in something known as Cornwall Live. I looked at the Devonshire Live one as well. And but anyway, the cave was first discovered by a Cornishman. So Darren Murray, name is attached to this image. He rediscovered the lost bench bone cavern of Brixham. So it's lost bench bone cavern of Brixham. Now, we need to drop the word bone there because the other cave is known as Bone Cavern. So we'll call it bench cavern of Brixham. So this is the second one. Because the other one was Phelps Cave. This is the second one. And it was originally discovered by the William Pengelly himself, the guy who'd been excavating at Phelps Cave. So we'll say it's a lost West Country cave. I would hardly think that Devon's West Country, but then again, I can be corrected. It was first discovered by William Pengelly. Bench cavern, which contained the bones of early hominids. When I say early hominids, pre 12,000 years ago, and extinct woolly mammoths. Was said to have been, and it was thought that this had been lost, had been quarried away and lost. And there's one of 4 cave systems in the Torbay area. And the work was undertaken by William Pengelly. And some describe, I describe him as well myself, as one of the fathers of early archaeology. The cave has now been found again by Darren Murray because he set out to find it. You know, he set out looking and he did find it. He said he was astonished to find part of the structure still exists, high up on the cliff face, on private land. The cave is still visible and walled off. It's fantastic inside. There will be other evidence of, he's saying, cavemen, and evidence of wild ice age mammals that once occupied the area. And he says this is rather key. To have all 4 bone caves still in existence is mind-blowing with all the quarrying of the Brixham area. Now, 2 of the caves that we did when we were looking at the caves on the Gower are now no longer with us. They were lost. But these 4 caves in the Torbay area are still there. So the concentration of Ice Age habitation sites, which would have existed, and then the evidence of humans living here before 12,000 years ago is amazing. And this cave itself was examined in 1875, just before the quarrying for the rest of the site. But it's still there. You can still, the cave is still there. Forget about the quarrying. The cave is still visible. And Bench Cavern did contain not only the remains of woolly mammoth, but another familiar creature, the remains of the spotted hyena, which we actually do see remains of that on the Gower, in the hyena's den, if you remember that. And it's also said that we got the remains of Neanderthals as well, Homo sapien Neanderthals. So we've got a rich level of evidence. Pengelly did come from Lewin, Cornwall, and he was very controversial, and it would have been very controversial in Victorian times for somebody like Pengelly to stand against the grain alongside his compatriot Charles Darwin, who was basically saying, you know, together their work went against the biblical teachings. So a spotted hyena jaw, interestingly enough, had been found below the layers where the hyena's jaw had been found in. A spearhead had been found. And this was dated now, currently, to date to around 37,500 years ago. So what we do find is that humans are in the area before and at the same time as hyenas. So this is a wonderful play on very important evidence. So the Victorian era itself gives us 3 caves in the Brixham area. And Kent's Cavern being the one that's attracted much more scientific interest. So for me, and this is what's in this article, the caves in Brixham have been largely forgotten. And this being largely forgotten, even the once popular show cave at Philp's Show Cave has since closed 1977 because it just couldn't cope with the likes of Kent's Cavern. But now, thanks to Darren Murray, we're now getting we're now seeing these caves back in the limelight. Brixham Museum, for example, shows lots of the evidence from this cave and Ash Hole and Philp. And fossils discovered made in the Brixham bone caves contribute to today's knowledge of the extinct prehistoric animals that once roamed around the area, and including woolly rhinoceroses alongside every other animal that we've mentioned. And again, this is amazing that the archaeological evidence within these caves date back at least 56,000 years ago. And we know that the archaeological evidence at Kent's Cavern dates back 400,000 years. There was a young lad that wandering around in 1945. He had found what were the remains of teeth from somebody that had lived 56,000 years ago. So what I want us to do now, I want us to look at Ash Hole. And then we'll mention a little bit about when I did Ash Hole. What I did, I went against these images, and I actually just chucked on Google, and I just basically said, let's just look at a load of images. So that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to get my stuff up here. Hang on, that's not what I want. Hang on a minute. Nope, I don't want that one. 1 second. Right, okay. There it is. That's what I wanted. Oh, my screen got a bit. So Ash Hole Cave. So this is again another one of those caves which is created out of Devonian rock. And we know that there's archaeological evidence within this cave, within the caves at Ash Hole, dating back tens and tens of thousands of years ago. It is a scheduled protected ancient monument, but unfortunately, a lot of damage has been caused to the upper layers. In fact, people have gone in and nicked all the stalactites and stalagmites and basically sold them on the internet. So even though it's protected as an archaeological site, the the protection is really not doing much. So with this, we mentioned a little bit of a description, mentioned a little bit about the history and the excavations. And I might actually, as I say, look at the Google images. So Ash Hall is reached more or less from a short walk of the main road, the Bury Head Road. It's 50 meters off the road, so it's not far away, in woodland and undergrowth. And you can see how sort of youths might sort of congregate in there. So there are two entrances into the cave, and there's a hole in the roof. Lots of damage has been caused to Ash Hall since the 1800s. Apart from the large main chamber, which we're going to have a look at now in Google, because none of these images give it any justice. So let's just go off. Let's just go directly to Google on this one. And good. And if we type in we type in Ash Hole, we're going to do now, and Ash Hole Cave. We type in images, and we go to here. That there gives you the huge scale of this cave. Look at that, and that's Darren Murray, this sort of guy who's gone out and out and started telling us about these caves. So, apart from the main chamber, there are several smaller chambers and passages that lead off it. We haven't really been properly interpreted. And with about 70 feet of crap build up in there, probably up to 80 or 90 feet, there could be little passages leading off down below, but obviously that hasn't been looked at yet. Large quantity of loose rock in there that's fallen from the table, the roof, for a lot of rubbish that's been built up here over at least the past 100 years. And what they've got is on the flowstone, on the floor and the rock, sort of vertical rock itself, you can find that people have been in there looking around, sort of doing inscriptions into the wall. So the proper archaeology of this is naturally hidden under the surface. So there is evidence here that the cave was used by looking at the archaeology in the Bronze Age, had been used in the Neolithic period, right? But there's evidence in here that may date even further back than the evidence at Kent's Cavern go back 400,000 years ago, because the layers of archaeology are just so thick, so untouched. But there has been some work, but the majority is just untouched. There are fragments as well of Roman burials in the cave, and those burials are 20 feet in depth. So in other words, there's been a lot of build-up, lots of fragments of urns and even coins. Again, more evidence of coins in these caves. So if we sort of move on a little bit, we've got loads of images we could use. Some fascinating images. Absolutely amazing. Oh, here we go. Let's go into the dark. So obviously,
shows you how big it is, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Look, that's the entrance. This is all the stuff that's been quarried out there. But that shows you massively where we are, hugely where we are. So in around 1830, it was first examined by a chap whose name will ring a bell in connection with Kent's Cavern, a chap by the name of Reverend Henry Francis Light, who was known to Reverend Buckland. Now, he investigated the site, and he was also investigated by a guy with a fascinating name, which is Octavian Blewett. Blewett was writing in 1832, and he reported that there was a tradition that the cave was once open to a much greater extent. Yes, it was, and there's passageways leading away. So he wanted to find those passageways. He looked in the extremities of the cave. Now there's 90 meters of the cave accessible, right? There's probably a lot more that's been buried and sealed, but there's a lot more that is actually there. Octavian Blewett went on to report that what he did, he dug a shaft 4 meters deep, right? And in that shaft that he dug 4 meters deep, which is just over, well, just under 1.5 meters, isn't it? So as he's digging, he found lots of the remains of sheep, ox, rabbit, goose, and chicken bones in the cave. And he thought, this is a bit odd. This is really odd. This is really different from anything like Kent's Cavern. And these were obviously all fairly modern animals compared to the auroch or wild elk or something like that. So it turned out, he did a little bit of investigation, which is great. It turned out that the cave had actually been used as an area for soldiers to camp out at the cold nights, because there was a military camp nearby. And this is a place that they would eat their meals. So in other words, all the bones that you're seeing are associated with that activity. So he drove into that. He enlarged the depth and drove 20 feet deeper. And there he found the remains of a human skeleton at a depth of 24 feet. Immediately under this layer, so we're talking about layers. So Octavian Blewett is aware of layers. Alongside light, he's aware of layers. And what he found was that underneath these human remains, there was another layer of charcoal and ashes and half-consumed animal bones, and all mixed up with pottery. When does this date by? Well, it's believed that this may have been one of those places that McKerney had been wishing to look at in regards to finding temples associated with the Roman god Mithras. Right. So they found lots of pottery, lots of it was really coarse. But it's very, very possible that this little bit of a miniature cave system, it's very, very possible that this miniature cave system has been used for an incredible period of time. So several human remains were subsequently discovered, together with some sling stones, pieces of brass and ivory, and pottery of a finer texture. Now we're still looking at that, and then he dug, and the shaft basically he dug altogether 70 feet. 70 feet. And he said, now this is the thing, nothing else of particular interest was discovered. Well, it might be of interest to us today. And the original floor of the cavern was never reached. So at 70 feet digging in depth, he didn't find anything of massive significance. The workings haven't been carried out in the vast fragments of rock which had fallen into the cave from the sides and mouth of it. And the excavation among the loose stones became too dangerous to proceed. So light didn't go any lower than the 70 feet. So what's been found since is that, you know, the cave's been mucked around with, but nobody's. So when you think about the deposits, are so thick that even if somebody dug about 2 or 3 meters, there would be 10, 15 meters of deposits in this cave, which have not been looked at. And there's been some more recent work in the 1960s. And in the 1960s, they found out that most of the pottery that they're finding belongs to the Bronze Age, 4,000 years ago, but some of it dates to about 1,900 years ago, associated with the Roman period. So, and what I'm going to mention is that, hang on, if we do that, what I'm going to mention is that there's a document on you which I would say you need to go out and read and look at, which I'll show you now. And so massively giving you an idea of scale. From the outside, that really doesn't give you scale. That really doesn't. Come on. Do you know what? It's not letting me move the bloody thing. So if we type in the document I want you to look at, which is hang on a minute. What's it called? Hang on. We go back to there. We do this. And we go Should stay up here. There. I'll show you. It's there in the right hand corner. But have you seen our new website?
No. Ooh.
Oh, this is the new website. So and there it is. So we've got some Sunday online classes now, which are starting very soon. And we've got the British prehistory that I do every Tuesday anyway. We've got Wednesday. Jessica's doing torture and brothels.
She's not, is she?
Yeah, she doesn't know that she's doing brothels, but she will do. Tuesday about 6 o'clock, I'll be doing a little Roman thing, and on Wednesday I'm still doing the line, and Sunday we've got castles of. So you're looking at this web page, yeah?
Yes, got that.
Got that, good. So you can look that up. You type in www.restoringwelshhistory.com, and sometimes when you do that, it basically says pages and identified. Press this, and you press this, and it is there. Typical. So if we go with where are we? Yeah. No. By this document here, it's great. You need to read this. It's if you type in discoveries and excavations at Brixham, you type in and this sort of research paper comes up. It's brilliant. And it's really detailed. It's got some nice illustrations of the roadway entrance and the other side. So if we look here, I'll just read the first bit out, and it goes as follows. So I'll put that on the side there. Good. So here we go. It goes about 208 is being celebrated throughout the scientific world. So obviously this is when this dates from. So obviously we think about Alfred Wallace, and we think about Charles Darwin, theory of evolution by natural selection. However, the discovery and excavations of a new cave in Brixham in the same year was arguably just as momentous, right? So this is of 1888, isn't it? This proves to be the great age of human life in Britain, as evidence of the finds of undisturbed humanly made flint tools along with the by then well-known Ice Age fossil mammals. So basically that's what we got. And this here, we'll just go to there and we'll finish. Also known as Brixham Cave and Windmill Hill Cave, the Brixham Bone Cave, this is Filt's Cave, this is why it gets confusing, is to be distinguished from Ash Hole and Bench Cave. It's recognized at the time by leading scientific authorities as proof of the antiquity of man, and continues to be recognized as a key standard point for subsequent research in Paleolithic archaeology, in even the regards of the way the archaeological work's undertaken. For example, the leading geologist of the generation, Charles Lyell, back in 1832, immediately recognized the tremendous importance of tremendous significance of the Brixham excavations. So he basically said, look, well, Pengelly's work of 1858 is brilliant. It really changes everything. And he returned to this at some length in another chapter. So it's all going into a book by this Charles Lyell. But finally, a sudden change of opinion was brought about in England respecting a probable coexistence at a former period of man and many extinct mammals. So in other words, all these extinct animals wandered around with human beings, and we're the only ones left. In consequence, the results obtained by the careful exploration of a cave at Brixham. The new views, very generally adopted by English geologists, had no small influence on the subsequent progress of opinion in France. Or in other words, they were working in France in the Somme Valley, and they finding these wonderful old artifacts, and they were starting to think that they're really, really ancient, and that's going across the board. So what we're going to do, so there's the title. If you want to write that down.
I've found it. Yeah, that's great.
Good.
I've already.
Good. So what we're going to do now is ask if there's any questions, and if you're going to be here next week, and if you are coming next week, we'll be doing Swanscombe.
Right. I don't have any questions. What I was going to do was have a good read of this article, because there's an awful lot of information in there.
Lots, so, and there's some really nice images at the bottom as well.
Yeah. So I'll have a good look at that. But no, thank you for that today.
Good.
And
good.
Next week I could be a tad bit late, so leave the door open.
That's a Belinda Carlisle song, I think. Or is that leave a light on for me? La 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 la. Yeah, never mind. So any other news? Anything else you want to say before we call it a day?
No, that's fine. I wish you all the best with your technology.
The technology's working. It's just that the idiot using it is screwing it up.
And I think you should look into a bit better fence for your ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I think I should. I think I should. Oh no, I put them into. They're all happy now. Into. They're in with a couple of the chickens with a new enclosure, so I'm just keeping them in.
Right.
So it's all good.
Okay, excellent.
So on that note, I'm going to call it a day. So hopefully I'll be seeing you next Thursday. Enjoy the newsletter when you get it, which will be in the next few days. Mind you, if the post is anything to go by, I don't know. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, thank you very much, and have a good week.
My pleasure, and thanks for joining us. And you've got everything you need, and have a good look at that article and let me know. Okay then, take care, Henry.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Henry. Bye. Bye. Absolutely knackered today, but I managed to get through it. And anyone watching now, don't forget to like and subscribe and do the Patreon button down below. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop this now.